All right. Well, first and foremost, it's very nice to meet you.
Same here. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I love the movie. I saw it a couple of months ago when it came out on Disney Plus, and it was absolutely fantastic.
That's great. That's a good
Um,
start.
yeah, for sure. Did you know anything about Trudy's story, or had you read the book that the film is based on before joining the project?
No, so I didn't know anything. I read Jeff Nathanson's script before I read Glenn Stout's book about the Trudy Ederle's accomplishment, and I was baffled that I didn't know it when I read it, and because it was such a big event, when it happened 100 years ago. It's a worldwide event, and in many ways changed women's sports forever. Back in the day, and so when I read it, I was first of all shocked that I didn't know it, and then I felt almost like a sense of responsibility, to retell the story to the world.
Was there something that struck you the most about her story when you became more familiar with what she had accomplished?
Well, I think I am a sucker for real for true stories, and I've done a couple of biopics in my life. Previous biopic I did was a movie called Kon-Tiki, and so I am drawn to history, and I am drawn to people that made a difference, and I'm get curious about it, like and why did they do it, and how did they do it? So it becomes very much about the journey for me, and the same thing happened with Trudy, obviously. Like what was it that was so important for her that she was willing to risk her own life to prove a point, basically.
And was there a specific element that you really wanted to represent in this movie because about her story? Because I myself I hadn't heard of her before watching the movie, and I'm sure so many people also didn't hear of her story before they had seen the film.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. And I mean, for me, it's about fighting for what you believe in. I mean, that's the core of the story for me. And I have teenage daughters, and I like Jeff Nathanson and we work together on Pirates of the Caribbean, and so this movie, the planning of this movie, Young Woman and Sea, goes back like 10 years. We tried to make this happen, and he found this amazing book by Glenn Stout. But we both have teenage daughters, and we were both kind of looking for a story for them, basically, that isn't pirates and that isn't fairy tales, and which is like a real heroic female driven story. And he found this book and this story, and I wanted to tell it for my daughters, but also for the daughters of the world, so to speak. And the reception and the impact that the movie has had through the summer until now, it's like I've never made a movie in my career that has had that kind of resonance from all over the world. And especially, we were amazingly lucky to get a theatrical release, but now it's on Disney Plus, and obviously Disney Plus is all over the world, so the floodgates just open, and it's been so rewarding for us.
And you mentioned Kon-Tiki and of course Pirates of the Caribbean, which are movies that visually depict the sea in a pretty different way. I mean, Pirates 5, you've got all these massive action set pieces, whereas Young Woman in the Sea, the approach in filming the water is far more personal and intimate. I'm wondering, how do you find a way to represent the sea visually that not only serves the story at hand, but also the character's journey, especially in this movie where it's very important. It's an integral part of her journey.
Well, I mean, it's Young Woman and the Sea. I think it's an epic movie in not only action. It's an emotionally epic movie, I feel, and it was very important for me from the get-go, in order to tell the story as true as possible. I wanted to shoot this out on the open ocean as much as we could. And that's actually something I didn't get to do that much on Pirates of the Caribbean, because it's just the endeavor of like 1,000 people and a dozen ships, and it was not like we did a little bit of that, but mostly that was on stages. And I wanted to go back to what we can call old school filmmaking. And what I did on Kon-Tiki as well was we were out on the real ocean for weeks and weeks, and I wanted to do the same with Young Woman in the Sea. And I think that the audience somehow can feel that they can feel the stakes in another way, and the happy accidents and all of that. And then obviously the logistics and the dangers of it, and just making it happen is obviously a whole other ball game than shooting on stage.
And of course, Daisy Ridley stars in this film as Trudy, and she is absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. I personally think it is the best performance of her career. I'm wondering if you can talk about working with her in the movie and
Yeah,
shaping her story authentically, and also imbuing her portrayal of the character with as much humanity as possible.
yeah. I mean, again, we were so lucky to get her. I think obviously, I think she's an amazing actor. She radiates. I think in her roles that I had seen prior to this, at least, I felt she radiates, some kind of a strength in her. As also especially in the Star Wars franchise. And I was very fascinated by that, because it was something like that strength is something I imagined that Trudy had, back then, in order to be able to do what she did. And very early on, I told Daisy that I want to do this real for real. Like I want to be out in the ocean, and and just a heads up, warning. And she was extremely into it. Obviously, later, like I learned that she actually has a fear of open water and all that she had to overcome. And obviously, she had to train for months and months, open water swimming, and like also period swimming, like what they did back then. And it was just this whole process that she had to physically go through. And then you get there on the day, and it's just like everything is just chaos and everything. But then that training comes into play for her. And so she's in this water, 60, 61 degrees, the currents, the wind. We're completely exposed to the elements week after week out there. And obviously I'm on a boat in a warm jacket, but it's like I look at her lips blue, and she's delivering lines and being emotional and going through the whole story of the movie of Trudy, and telling her story. And in some way, I'm sure it informed her a little bit, and certainly myself, about how what Trudy, in a little small way, how what she must have gone through, and obviously we're not out there risking our lives. I mean, I was very nervous about the propellers being so close to Daisy all the time and stuff like that, but we're not risking our lives, obviously, like Trudy did back in the day. But we are out there and we are doing it, and I think the audience can feel it, and it really informed us about this journey.
Yeah, I recently watched a movie with Daisy. It was called Sometimes I Think About Dying. I don't know if you've seen that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Great.
And her performance in that movie is extremely, it's really based on silent, quiet, introspective moments. And I felt like when I was watching Trudy, some of the strongest parts of that film were when she was silent and extremely introspective as well. Was that an
Yeah.
important element to capture within Daisy's performance?
I think just I listen, I think she's great, and she has that, like I said, like that. I feel she has that strength, and that inner strength, and it irradiates. And and she's also, actors have all different kinds of processes, and there's no right or wrong and anything, but she has this ability to really, um being able to, she's such a fine-tuned instrument that she can really tap into her emotions, take after take, which even when she's in the water, being having a goodbye scene with her father in the movie, things like that, where I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't have a better film partner, to do this project with.
And also in this movie, you collaborate with Oscar Farua, who's your cinematographer, who's also worked on The Impossible with J.A. Bayona, and also the first two episodes of The Lord of the Rings, which has a pretty elaborate sequence set in the Sundering Seas. I'm wondering if you can talk about your
I
collaboration
think
with him.
then I think now he's doing Moana.
Oh, he is the remake. Oh, wow.
So he's stuck on the ocean.
Well, can you talk about collaborating with him? I guess he also
Yeah.
had some knowledge about shooting in the sea as well.
Yeah, and obviously, like, it didn't hurt, that you crossed the ocean before, like what I did with Kon-Tiki and he did with Impossible, which is an amazing movie. He's just such an accomplished, amazing DP, Invitation Game and all the Boyana movies, of course, and then, it's just he was again. I feel with this film, because of the story and because of this wonderful script by Jeff Nathanson, that I could pick top shelf all the way through, and it's not a big budget movie, and we couldn't really it's not like the movie I'm currently doing next to the room here, which is Tron, where you can pay people to come and work for you. The young woman was more the story and the script, and everybody just gravitated towards it. And I had such a wonderful crew that it all became personal for everyone to do this.
And there's this really harrowing scene that really struck me was when she was swimming through a field of jellyfish. I especially found the camera work to be quite claustrophobic because you really feel the pain that she's feeling as she's swimming in that field. Can
Good.
you talk about can you talk about shooting that sequence and how
Yeah,
you also wanted to depict, I guess, contrast with the beauty of swimming in the sea, but also, the terrifying dangers of
yeah,
being in that water.
yeah. I mean, I keep talking about how we did everything for real and all of that stuff, but like obviously the jellyfish are not real. They are amazing VFX elements that So when Daisy Ridley is swimming out there, she's swimming with nothing, obviously. And we designed it, obviously Oscar Farah and myself together with production designer Nora Ekberg, and like getting the look of this, with the VFX supervisor Richard Briscoe, and like all of these people, trying to make this happen somehow. And it's I knew that when I read the script that it was going to be a scary scene, an important scene. So you just have to do the best you can, and luckily again, I just felt I had like such amazing people around me that you know makes me look good, and talking with you.
How do you find, I guess, the right, I guess, emotional balance between these moments of high stakes tension in the sea, but also these more human moments in Trudy's story in terms of her relationship that she has with her parents, with her sister, with Charlotte Epstein also at the beginning of the film? Can you talk about more like depicting that
Yeah.
aspect of her life?
Well, a lot of that was in the script with Jeff Nathanson's script, like, and that's why I think it's one of the best scripts that I've ever read. But then you film it, and obviously you bring yourself to it, and you change things, and with the actors and everything, it's all you kind of you're finding the truth in the scenes, and you're finding the moments that are important. But then you come into editing, with Una de Nojla, and it's it was such a marvelous process because as filmmakers will tell you, you rewrite the movie in editing, and uh, it was a tricky film to put together because it has a lot of time passing, and that's always going to be tricky, montages and things like that, and see how that can move you forward. And that is an art form, honestly, in editing. And then when you have that, and then on top of that, you have the Amelia Warner making the score, and suddenly it just starting to gel, and then you find the emotions, and sometimes you are happy you found it where it used to be in the script, and sometimes you just discover it somewhere else. And that's what's so magical about making movies, I think. Also, it's that kind of, it's so far from exact science, although, we are really trying to make it an exact science there in Hollywood, but it's not, and it's just such a complex art form that that's I always feel any movie is like a miracle, honestly. And when you make something good, it just is, it's just such a feeling of accomplishment.
You briefly talked about the music. Did that also help guide that emotional journey within the edit when you were working on the movie in post production?
Yeah, 100%. Always music. Put music. No, and especially with Amelia's music, it was her score there, like when it started trickling in, and then suddenly you see how the movie changes, and especially the emotions, as you're saying. And it's one of my favorite processes, because when we get to scoring the doing the score on stage, and we did it at Air Studios in London, where you have like 100 people, you have them sitting there, and the movie is pretty much cut by then, so you have it and you have sound, and then it's just like it's such a development in quality of the movie the moment you get that real score on it, going from artificial kind of electronic temp music to feeling the violins and the hearing it, and for me as a director, because it's kind of one of the few phases where I get to sit back a little bit and just like enjoy and watch the process and seeing this geniuses at work. So yeah, I'm a huge believer in in music since I started making films as a 10-year-old.
The movie, talks about Trudy's successes in swimming the English Channel, but it also, depicts how she had to defy all of these societal expectations inside a pretty male-dominated society that basically wouldn't allow her to accomplish anything, and the lengths which they go to ensure that she will fail, especially in regards to Christopher Eccleston's character, who is fantastic. He's just fantastic in this movie, but the character he plays is just absolutely despicable.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you wanted to sort of, I'm wondering if you can talk about like wanted to showcase these parts in the movie and represent how, Trudy
Yeah.
managed to overcome all these setbacks and also prove to everyone that not only she can do it, but, others can do it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like, it was very important for me to we had to show the discrimination and the patterns of the day, how it was to be a woman, 100 years ago. And it's always like a little bit of a fine line before it can go a little almost parodic, because it's so insane to have. And I mean, I had even more sequences where like that women were not allowed to swim, basically, and they had, when they were in the water, they had to have a full gown on, and like all of these rules made up by men. So obviously that's part of through this journey, and I try to somehow represent it in her family as well, because I think that her family is such an important part of her story, where you have the strong mother and the supporting sister and full of love, and then you have the strict father representing, the day's society. And yeah, it's hard for anyone, and we're not even fully there yet, but like, it's hard for anyone to fully fathom how it was 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 30 years ago. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, it's so insane to me. It's especially having dived into this, this domination that is especially back then took place. It's just um, it's not pretty.
So the film had as you mentioned earlier, a limited theatrical release back in May, but now it's been out on Disney Plus for some time, which means that more and more people are now discovering it also for the first time. And I'm wondering, as more and more people pay attention to this movie and watch it, what do you hope audiences take away the most from Trudy Ederle's story?
Yeah, no, I'm first, I just want to say I'm so happy that we got the theatrical release and the Disney really, we made it very hard for them to not have a theatrical release, you know. And I just feel I want to put something good into the world, like something. It's an inspirational story, and if you're a man or a woman, it should be an inspirational story, and that's what I'm getting on a daily basis, from all over the world, and most importantly from my own daughters who are teenagers, and seeing this film and being proud of me, and like that I managed to tell a story like that, and that's the only reward that I need. But I'm proud of the film. I'm proud of everybody that worked on it, and I just want as many people as possible to see it, and I'm thrilled that I get to talk with you and journalists that are interested in writing about the film and getting it out there.
Yeah, for sure. And so your next movie is Tron. I don't know how much you can talk
Yeah.
about this movie, but Legacy was my favorite movie of 2010. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
very excited
Yeah.
for this
No,
film.
no, and you should be, I'm excited too. It's a completely different movie than Young Woman on the Sea, which is like also I'm so grateful for that as well, to be able to move between genres and projects and budgets and and stories, and because I think there should be all kinds of films. And Yeah, no, Tron is like I'm actually in the old cutting room of Walt Disney. I'm on the Disney lot here now, and we're sitting here. We have like it's a big movie, so we have the whole building, and yeah. So now we're deep into the dark corridors of editing, and so I'm happy to talk to other people, come out into the light, and have a chat about Young Woman and the Sea.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to wish you all the best on the release of Tron next year. I cannot wait to see this movie. I'm hoping it's going to be fantastic. I don't
I
know. I
think
don't know exactly.
I think yesterday it was exactly 1 year left. I think was it? Yeah. So yeah, October 10 next year. That's
Nice,
it for that
nice,
thing.
nice. Well, it was really great talking today on your work in Young Woman and the Sea. Congratulations. The film is absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. And I hope everyone gets a chance to see this movie as soon as they can.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That really means a lot. So I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to wish you all the best on the remainder of Tron, and I hope that you have a very good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.